All right, welcome back, you guys. So for this lesson, we are going to be doing parts 1 through 4. So we're going to jump right into the warm up for activity 1. Now, just so you know, this lesson is actually going to be done in class as a whole class discussion. So if you're outside of class, you can kind of do this. It may be a little difficult, but do your best. We are going to be discussing this as a class today. So for our warm up, we have a letter that we need to focus on. So here's the message from Dr. Walker that we need to read about Jordan Jones. After viewing Jordan Jones's pre-race meals, along with the evidence from card N, we don't believe that the changes in his meals could really explain his improved performance. And you guys may have seen that in your evidence as well and discussed that as well. The difference in the amount of starch between the two meals wasn't enough to have a dramatic effect on his body's ability to release energy through cellular respiration. Therefore, we want you to focus on the other two claims that the National Biking Association asked us to investigate. Claim 1, Jordan Jones increased his cellular respiration and improved his performance by blood doping, and claim 3, that he increased his cellular respiration, and improved his performance by training at a higher altitude. Okay, so jump back into your Amplify lesson, and at the bottom you have a question to answer. Do you agree with Dr. Walker that it's not the meals that could have improved his performance? Why or why not? So just hop in there and discuss that question. And just remember, take just 2 minutes to answer this question. Pause the video here. All right, so we're going to jump into activity 2. And in activity 2, we're going to prepare for that science seminar. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at card N. N showed you very little difference between the two meals that he had in terms of how much glucose was in it. So remember, glucose is going to come from starch, which is the corn, being broken down into sugar, which is glucose. Okay, so that's the starch being broken down, and thus how much energy could be released through cellular respiration. So this is compelling evidence against claim 2, where we want to focus on the diet. So that's why Dr. Walker is asking us to focus on the other two claims, because this one really doesn't like it. They're pretty similar. The diet type that he had in each pre-race meal was pretty similar. So we're going to focus on those other two claims. To organize your cards for the science seminar, you will each get 2 argument organizers. One has claim 1 printed at the top, and the other has claim 3 printed at the top. And actually, you're probably going to get these where they're front to back, so that you can just flip over to each side. But it'll help you organize your ideas for each argument, claim 1 and claim 3. So it'll help you with when we have the actual argument. If you don't have these, pause the video here and go grab them from our spot that we pick up materials. All right, so they're going to help you organize your cards for that argument, like I was saying. And remember, you have claim 1 and you have claim 3. We are not focusing on claim 2 anymore. So under each claim on the argument organizers, you're actually going to glue the evidence cards that you think support it the strongest. So you're going to put those evidence cards right on there, and you're going to write your notes about the evidence. So you want to pick the strongest piece of evidence. Now, don't get rid of the rest of the cards, because as we have our argument, you may want them to refer back to. But you want to put the strongest pieces of evidence that you have for the claim on your organizer. So you can reference these as you have your argument and as we discuss it as a class during the science seminar. You can also write notes next to each one of the cards about things that you might want to bring up or what you might want to say. And if it were me, if I had 2 cards that linked together, I would actually put an arrow from one to the other, and I would make my notes about it at the bottom and say this is how they connect, or somehow write notes on here so that I can quickly glance at it and figure out what I'm trying to say in that argument. Now remember, this part of the lesson should only take you about 15 minutes. So let's say about 10 to 12 minutes. So make sure you're watching your time as you guys are doing this so you don't get too far behind. So you're going to review those claims and choose the ones that are most important to support it and glue those on this card or the argument organizer like I told you. And make sure you do the same thing for step 3. So you're going to want to pause the video here and go ahead and do that. And there are instructions on your Amplify lesson part 2, for you to be able to follow these directions and do exactly what we just said. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video here and reread these. And like it says, if you have time, write some notes about it so that you can use them in the argument. All right, now that you've paused and finished that up and organized your cards, now this activity should take about 25 minutes and probably a little bit less than that. We're probably going to be taking about 20 to 25 minutes to do it. So this will help us to prepare for that science seminar. So we're going to have a discussion in which we share ideas and we share questions and challenge one another in a polite way. The purpose of the science seminar is to use everyone's knowledge to come to a deeper understanding of something. So we are going to specifically, this argument is going to be specifically about coming to a better understanding of the evidence that we have about Jordan Jones and what is going on with him. So here's some of my expectations. You guys are running the conversation. Make sure you're using the evidence on your evidence cards you have in front of you to explain your thinking and listen to one another. Respond to one another. If somebody says something and you're like, oh, I agree with them and I want to add this, or I disagree with them and here's why. Be open to changing your mind. Sometimes during these science seminars, you can totally change your mind, and that's okay because somebody might make a really convincing argument and have a lot of evidence to back it up with. So be open to changing your mind. So we are going to be, we're going to set up the classroom so that we have some people that are going to be in the front that are going to be the ones that are talking, and we're going to have people that are in the back that are the ones that are having, that are listening and taking notes as the people in the front discuss it. So then about halfway through, we'll spend a few minutes doing that. Then we will switch. So we'll have the people in the front move to the back, and then the people in the back move to the front, and then they will talk in the front and the people in the back will be listening. So we're going to switch. We're going to do half the class at a time that has the discussion and half that's listening, and then we'll swap those two so you all get a chance to discuss. Okay, so when you're in the outer part of the semicircle and you're taking notes and listening, you're going to be using this science seminar observation sheet. So I'm going to review how to use this sheet. So in this science seminar, you are going to everybody's going to be sharing evidence and how it supports or does not support a claim. And as they discuss, you're going to build your best explanation for Jordan Jones and his improved performance. So on this sheet, you want to write any ideas that you hear that may help back up your claim and what your thoughts are. Jot them down here at the bottom. You can always use the very bottom of the page or the back if you need to. You also need to be looking for if you hear a student supporting a claim, if you hear them disagree, if you hear them connect a claim, two pieces of evidence together, or if you are evaluating the quality of the evidence. And instead of check marks, we're going to be doing tally marks. Every time you hear it, just put a little check mark or a tally mark here. So you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put one across for 5. So you know how many times you heard each one of these during the seminar. And make sure you write any notes that you think might help back up your evidence. Okay, so during the science seminar, you will share about your thinking and evidence and how it supports or does not support the claim and back up the best claim that we have with your evidence. And you're going to run that discussion. So you can start with any of these. I think this evidence supports this claim because, I don't think it supports this claim because, I agree because, I disagree because, and why do you think that? So let's begin the science seminar. Let's go ahead and take our seats. Bring your organizers. At this point, you may have a clipboard. Bring that with you as well. Make sure you have all of your observation sheets with you, and make sure you take a pencil to write with. Okay, during the science seminar, make sure you are referring to these evidence cards, and I can project them as you guys mention them. I'll just bring them up on the slideshow. But remember, you are running the science seminar. So today you're going to consider whether Jordan Jones drastically improved his performance by high altitude training or blood doping. So remember, we're looking and focusing at claim 1 and claim 3 because we said the pre-race meal is out. So we're going to start with evidence card 1 for the first group, and then we're going to continue discussing the other cards. So here's the question I want us to start our discussion with. Based on this card that he trained at a higher altitude for 1 month, what does this type of training do to the body, and how might this have helped Jordan Jones's performance? I'm going to pause the video here and let's go ahead and start this discussion. All right, we're going to continue discussing the possible causes of Jordan Jones's improved performance by high altitude or blood doping. So remember to refer to the evidence and respond to one another. And we're going to start the second group. Let's have the inner circle revisit some of the claims that you're considering. Which claim do you think is supported by claim 1 or 3, and how did your ideas change during the discussion? All right, now we are actually going to switch now, and the inner seat are going to become the outer part of our group discussion, and they're going to be listening. So here's the evidence we're going to focus on for this group. Evidence card M. On the day of the race, Jordan Jones had a hemoglobin level that was 11% higher than it was the week before. What could the level of the hemoglobin in Jordan's blood tell us about his metabolism and his ability to release energy? So let's go ahead and start here. All right. We're going to continue discussing the possible causes of his performance, and remember to refer to those evidence cards as we do. All right, now that we're done, what claims did you guys support, 1 or 3, and why? Have your ideas changed during this discussion? Let's talk about it. All right, so our question for chapter 4 was, how did the athlete increase his cellular respiration and improve his performance? Each of you probably has an idea about which claim is actually stronger, and you should be prepared to write a strong argument now. So homework for activity 4 is to write your final argument and to explain your ideas about what was responsible for Jordan Jones' improved performance. So instead of doing the final argument, everybody in the room is actually going to do a mastery check for this. This is the mastery check that counts for 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. You're going to explain which claim you think is the strongest based on your evidence, and you are going to tell why. And if we look at the mastery check, you can have your evidence cards in front of you as you guys do this, and you're going to do this one at your seats. So go ahead and write your final argument on the mastery check paper instead of in the computer. And here are the 3 claims. I'll leave them up on the board for you so that you can go ahead and write your final argument. We've reached the end of the lesson, so we will continue the lesson on. The next activity we will do will be our test for this unit.